She had been a good woman her whole life. Faithful. Generous. The kind of person who showed up for everyone else's crisis without being asked. And now, sitting in a hospital corridor at 2 a.m. waiting for news about her husband, she was asking the question she had never once allowed herself to ask before. Why? Not what. Not how. Why? Why would God, a God she had served without reservation for 30 years, allow this to happen to someone who never stopped believing in him? She wasn't the first person to ask that question, and the two people who asked it before her, both of them in scripture, both of them close to God, both of them standing inside their worst season with no explanation and no warning. Their answers are waiting at the end of this video. And I need you to stay for both of them. Because one will comfort you. And the other one will change something in you permanently. The book of Job begins with a scene that most people never preach about. Because it is deeply uncomfortable. God is speaking with a being called the adversary, and God says, unprompted, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." God brought Job up. God pointed him out. God initiated the conversation that led to everything that followed. And what followed was this: in a single day, Job lost all 10 of his children, all of his livestock, all of his wealth, and eventually his health. His body covered in painful sores. His wife told him to curse God and die. His friends told him he must have done something terrible to deserve it. And Job had done nothing wrong. The text is explicit about this. He was blameless. He was upright. He was the most faithful man on earth, and God himself said so, right before allowing the worst season of his life to begin. I need you to sit with that for a moment. Because the prosperity gospel version of faith says that if you are close enough to God, suffering will not find you. Job's life says the opposite. Sometimes the suffering finds you precisely because you are close to God. Because you are the one he trusts enough to carry it. She was still sitting in that corridor. An hour had passed. Maybe 2. She had stopped watching the clock. And she was thinking about something her pastor had said years ago. That God works all things together for good. Romans 8 verse 28. She had believed that verse completely. Had quoted it to other people in their worst moments. Sitting in that corridor she wanted to believe it. But belief felt like a language she suddenly couldn't speak. There is a story in the Gospel of John that I think she needed to hear that night. A story about someone Jesus loved, deeply, personally, and what Jesus chose to do when that person needed him most. Mary and Martha sent a message to Jesus. Simple and urgent. Lord, the one you love is sick. They did not ask him to come. They simply told him. Because they knew him well enough to believe that knowing would be enough. He would come. John 11 says, when Jesus heard this, he loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. Read that again slowly. He loved them. So he stayed. The delay was not a contradiction of his love. It was an expression of it, a deeper expression than the sisters could see from where they were standing. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus had been dead 4 days. Martha walked out to meet him and said, without accusation but with the full weight of grief behind it, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And then something happened that John records as the shortest verse in the entire Bible: Jesus wept. He already knew what he was about to do. He knew Lazarus would walk out of that tomb. He knew the ending of the story that Martha could not see. And he wept anyway, not because he had lost hope, but because the people he loved were in pain. And their pain moved him even when he was already holding the solution in his hands. He did not explain himself to Martha before he acted. He did not say, wait, I have a plan. He wept first. Then he moved. And then he said, Lazarus, come out. And the dead man walked out wrapped in grave clothes. 4 days dead. And Jesus was not late. Job suffered for a long time. His friends gave him theology. Long, elaborate, well-intentioned theology about why he deserved what had happened to him. And Job argued back. Passionately, honestly, with no pretense of peace he did not feel. And then God spoke. From a whirlwind. Not a whisper. A whirlwind. And what God said is one of the strangest divine responses in all of Scripture. He did not explain himself. He did not say, "Here is why I allowed this." He did not apologize or comfort Job with a reason. Instead he said, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Who shut up the sea with doors when it burst out? Have you entered into the springs of the sea? Can you bind the Pleiades or loose the belt of Orion?" For 4 chapters. Question after question about the architecture of creation that Job cannot answer. God was not being cruel. He was doing something more profound than explaining himself. He was showing Job the scale of what he is working with. The perspective from which every season of every life is being held, a perspective so vast that what looks like abandonment from the ground looks entirely different from the height at which God operates. And then, the thing most people miss, God told Job's friends that Job had spoken rightly. Not the friends with their polished theology. Job, who argued, questioned, and refused to pretend. Job spoke rightly. Honest pain in God's presence is not a lack of faith. It is the deepest kind of faith. It says, "I believe you are here and I am not pretending everything is fine." Put these 2 stories side by side and something emerges that neither one says alone. Lazarus shows us that God's delays are purposeful. The 4 days were not a failure of love, they were a deepening of it. If Jesus had arrived on day 1, Lazarus would have been healed. But the world would never have seen resurrection. The miracle that required the delay was greater than the miracle available without it. Job shows us that God's silence is not absence. The whirlwind did not explain the suffering. But it revealed the sufferer was not alone in it. God was present through every day of Job's worst season, and the ending of Job's story is restoration so complete it makes the earlier abundance look modest. But here is what both stories have in common that I need you to hear: neither Job nor Lazarus' sisters could see what God was doing while it was happening. The view from inside the season never reveals the purpose of the season. That is not a design flaw. It is a design feature. If you could see the full picture from the bottom of the pit, you would not need faith. You would simply need information. God is not asking you for information processing. He is asking for trust in a person. And trust, by definition, can only exist when you cannot see the whole picture. James says, "Consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." The season is not punishing you. It is completing you. There is a difference. And it changes everything about how you carry it. She was still in that corridor when the doctor came. He sat down beside her. Not across from her. Beside her. And she knew before he said a word that whatever came next was going to require everything she had left. But something had shifted while she sat there. She could not have explained it if you had asked her. No voice. No vision. No verse arriving perfectly timed like a movie moment. Just a settling. A quiet, unreasonable, completely irrational settling in her chest that said, "Whatever this is, it is being held by someone who has not once looked away." She did not know the ending of her story that night. Neither do you know the ending of yours right now. But Job knew something at the end of the whirlwind that he did not know at the beginning of his suffering. And Mary knew something standing outside an empty tomb that she did not know sitting inside a house of mourning. They knew that the worst season of their lives was not the last word. It was not punishment. It was not abandonment. It was not God looking away. It was a season. And seasons, by their very nature, end. Whatever you are sitting in tonight, the hospital corridor, the empty house, the financial ruin, the broken relationship, the diagnosis you haven't told anyone yet. You are not at the end of your story. You are inside a chapter that your story cannot be told without. And the God who wept at a tomb he was about to empty, that God has not once stopped watching over this season of yours. He sees what you cannot. And what he sees, even now, is not the end.